Welcome to the World Congress of Cardiometabolic Medicine, Mumbai 2019. We have been talking about the preventive cardiology. Primary prevention is better than cure. There have always been a challenging issues of the cardiac transplant. Today we have the very eminent person to talk about the cardiac transplant, none other than Dr. Vivek Jawali. I have a pleasure introducing Dr. Vivek Jawali, who is a cardiothoracic surgeon in Bangalore Fortis Hospital. He has been performing all those difficult tasks of transplanting the heart, giving a new heart, a new life to a patient. Welcome, sir.
My pleasure.
So, if I may ask you about the disease prevalence and the incidence of the cardiac failure, how overwhelming response is this in India?
Cardiac failure in India has really now gone beyond a understandable number. We have been doing PCIs, CABGs in India for last 4 decades, and patients survived, patients have grown old, but most of these patients came for the procedures after MIs, and very commonly anterior MIs, especially from the mofussil areas. So today we have a staggering number of patients who have got ischemic cardiomyopathies. And if you come to any one of the major hospitals, heart failure clinics, you would be really sad to see the staggering numbers and registered candidates. On top of that, then you have the GUCH, the adult congenital hearts, and then you have this array of cardiomyopathies. So there is a staggering number of these patients. And then we have almost 5 registries in India where we understand now the Indian picture unlike ever before. And there's a hell lot of good work is going on understanding what is going on here. But the problem in India is the government role is frugal and India is too big. So each registry is regional, and we really do not understand we do not know the complete picture of the Indian universe, what exactly are the numbers, what's happening, but everybody agrees that the numbers are large.
We are really honored to have you on our show. Despite of the overwhelming disease response, here we have a man who deals with all the failed heart and sharpen their knife every now and then to give them a new heart. And tell me, how many transplants we have done the last decade or so? I mean, I've been hearing for quite often that India has done the maximum number of the transplant. And tell me how the logistic involved into it, please.
India has surprised me as much as it should have surprised the world. There are many like me. Today, India has got 82 centers which perform heart transplants. B, Indian government, state and the federal government have got their act together. The relationship on this particular area between the center, which has a body called NATO, National Organ Sharing Body, and the ROTO, the regional, both have very good lubricated, quick relationship. Between interstate, the relationships are good. Donor hearts are rising. The sentiment among Indian people of all religions that we should donate is rising. So today, if you come to Bangalore, in my city, from the government organization which coordinates, I get a call for a heart every week. There are 9 registered hospitals in Bangalore, and we take a turn alphabetically to get the hearts. But never we had so many donor hearts. So if you look at India's track record of heart transplant, we began in 1995, too late. The first experimental heart transplant was done in KM Bombay by Dr. Sen in the same year when it happened in South Africa, 1967. It was illegal, it was a failed experiment like in Japan, but it happened in 67. Between 1995 to 2016, India hardly did around 120 heart transplants. But come 2016 till today, India has crossed 350 heart transplants.
That's a humongous number.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
In that period,
Yeah.
the European segment must have done about 100 heart transplant. Why is this happening? A, there has been an exodus of trained young men and women from the Western world in India, the Indians. B, there has been a exponential growth of infrastructure in the private sector, which any good private hospital you walk in India and you would be surprised how good these hospitals are. And the MBAs that manage these hospitals, they are really champions in frugal management. So, and also the surgeons and the government together have come up with a lot of tricks to do the same thing much more in much less. Example, my last pediatric cardiac transplant, I got a donor heart from the neighboring state of Andhra Pradesh, from the city of Vizag, which is fairly far away from Bangalore. And the heart was picked up in the night, spotted in the night. both the states talked to each other. Everything was sorted out by these government officials the midnight. And then by early morning AirAsia flight, this donor heart was taken out, brought by the flight, brought in Bangalore. The police gave us a green corridor. That means they entirely stopped the traffic like they would do for the Prime Minister. And the organ was brought this large distance of 20 kilometers in no time. And then me taking out the heart, putting this new heart and removing the cross clamp on this new heart, the whole time taken was 4 hours and 20 minutes, one single custodial cardioplegia. So, and what the expenses that we see at the end of the day are very frugal. So, I am very proud of what my country, my doctors and my government has done. That we have done largest amount of number of heart transplants in the world. The results are almost comparable, and because we have now come of age, we are almost eyeball to eyeball with the kidney guys. The science in the area of immunosuppression, the pathological diagnosis of rejection, there are very smart echocardiographers that we have who allow us to do less biopsies now and give us very smart, very early warnings on rejections. And
so what are the, if I may, sorry, I'm going to have to stop you here, and if I may ask you that what are the decisive factors or are the decisive determinants of increasing these numbers from 100 to 300 plus over a very short span of time? One I can clearly understand from your talks is a very good collaboration and liaison between the two state and countries and patient. Is there anything else that you guys really focus on to have this kind of beautiful results?
4 factors actually.
Yep.
A, there is, which is unfortunate, there is a huge number rise in the number of patients with terminal heart failure. B,
so when you say the patient workload has gone up?
Has gone up.
Definitely.
And
so,
also
and
the diagnosis, because there are so many continuing medical education programs going on, even a general practitioner in a village is very well aware that come NOIHA class 3, I must explain this patient and pack him. Secondly, there are a lot of NGOs who can collect crowdfunding for us. 3, there is huge number of trained doctors which are available and a huge increase in the infrastructure. But never before we saw governments being both center and
so
the
proactive in
so
supporting,
proactive. And
yeah,
then
that's a very good initiation basically.
excellent.
From the government.
I am a citizen of this country who never trained abroad. I am from here. I have been witnessing this. I myself am surprised so pleasantly. So then imagine about somebody like you who practices in London. I am very proud. I am very surprised. And I look forward in a very positive manner that if the government allows us and changes the laws a little bit,
so we are
and
in the right gear shift, and
our donations go up, we will be able to do transplants for the whole world here, not only heart, liver, pancreas, everything. So exponential number of organs available and exponential number of talent available.
India has a potential to be called as a medical hub of the coming future.
It is already, but where the transplants are concerned, if we tweak our own realities in this country, oh, we could be catering the whole world.
Precisely.
Today we just cater for ourselves.
I'm really happy to know that. If I may ask you a few questions about the etiology of the heart failure and what causes, what are the commonest thing that you see in your day-to-day practices, and in order to prevent, and then what we have been basically emphasizing on, prevention is better than cure.
True. See, unlike in the rest of the world, especially the civilized Western world, there is one macabre fact in India that our load of ischemic heart disease is really high. And when I look at the transplants, half of them are ischemic cardiomyopathy, which may be about 30% out there. Secondly, there is a huge ischemic heart disease here, you know the reasons very well. Secondly, there is a huge load of diabetes in this country. And a combination of that is we have 50% of the heart that come for heart transplant, they are ischemic cardiomyopathy. Then on top of that, we have a heavy load of grown-up congenital heart disease, GUCH, which is unlike the rest of the world, they get skipped, they get unnoticed in their infancy, in their neonatal period. Of course, it's improving, but still we have a very huge load of grown-up congenital heart disease. And then the varied shades of cardiomyopathies. So together we have a large load of...
Are you presenting something in the World Congress of Cardiometabolic
Today,
Medicine?
after I finish this interview, I go up to give a talk on issues of diabetes mellitus in heart transplant, because this 50% of the load of heart transplant is ischemic cardiomyopathy, 50% of that load has diabetes. And somebody has diabetes, you do a heart transplant, that's not a straightforward dish. And perioperatively, late postoperatively, they don't do so well. So it is important that the physicians are made aware that they have to be very tight on the glycemic control of these individuals. And also the surgeons and the team has to be aware that the tighter the control, then they behave almost same as any other heart transplant.
If I may ask you to walk us through the summary of your key points that you're going to discuss in an hour's time about the WCC 2019, just summarize 2-3 points.
4-5 points.
Yeah,
A, there is exponential growth of capability of heart transplant in India. B, there is a sizable load of patients coming from heart transplant with diabetes mellitus. C, it's a difficult dish. D, it's important to have a very tight glycemic control perioperatively and early and late postoperatively. And another important area is there are patients coming in without any major coronary artery disease, only the end coronary artery disease, and just diabetes and cardiomyopathy. And one has to recognize that.
Essentially, I've described the crux of the talks in a few sentences, very well described.
My pleasure.
That was Dr. Vivek Juwali. Thank you very much for having in the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.